Hello YouTube, it's Nurse T and I'm finally back with another video. Before I get started with this video, I would like to say Happy New Year to all of you guys that are watching. I hope that you have your goals that you want to accomplish this year already planned, set out, and I hope that you are successful in accomplishing them all. Also, thank you to my new subscribers. Thank you so much for taking the time out to watch my videos and to subscribe to my channel. In this video, I will be talking about my experience in the nurse residency program. This is part 2. I will link part 1 down in the description box. Picking up from part 1, I was about halfway through the program at that time. Right now, I am completely finished with the program, so I'm just going to tell you guys about the second half of my program experience. So I still had my rotation for oncology and ortho left, and also my ED shadow day. Oncology, it was pretty good. I will say it was pretty good. It was a top rated unit of all my classmates. Everyone wanted to go, well, I would say about half the class wanted to go to that unit just for the chemo certification and also the experience with cancer patients and also hospice patients. We picked up with that rotation. You were required to have about 3 to 4 patients per shift. So that went pretty good. Like I said, it was kind of sad because, you know, most of the patients were actively dying because they were hospice patients. And then you just had the ones that came in for a few hours for their chemo treatment. So I actually enjoyed it. The time went by really fast on that unit because you were constantly busy. I got a lot of experience with PICC lines and central lines, so that was good. Also, we were actually on our own. We still had our mentor, but most of the rotation we were really on our own with our 3 to 4 patients. Moving on to my experience in ortho. I believe in my last video I did mention that the ortho rotation, I was already on the floor. I did my capstone when I was in nursing school on that floor. So I wanted to go back just to see, you know, if anything has changed on the floor, if it was good or bad. Because my last time on the floor, we had a lot of admissions and discharges. It is a very busy floor. Surgeries come in all times of the day. So I felt like, you know, a lot of my time was, you know, I couldn't really devote a lot of my time to my patients because I had to rush and either admit someone or go and discharge someone. So that was something that I did not like. So that's why I decided to revisit to see if it changed. Well, I revisited the floor and it did change because they had a admission and discharge nurse. So she was responsible for doing all the admissions and all the discharges. Every now and then I would get one, but not as many as I did before. So that allowed me more time with my patients. Now on this rotation, we were required to take up to from 4 to 6 patients. So at the end of that rotation, I was all the way up to taking 5 patients by myself, no help from my mentor. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed, you know, the patients, you know, learning about the different surgeries on the joints, knees, hips, backs, necks, shoulders, all of that. I really enjoyed the floor. Moving on to my ED shadow experience, I did not like it. Kudos, big ups, shout outs, everything to all you ED nurses out there. I tip my hat off to you. I do not like the emergency room. Okay? And I didn't like it because I just don't like to be in the position to where I don't know what I'm dealing with. You can have anything from a gunshot wound. You can have a cardiac arrest, which I did have. You can have allergic reaction. You can just have a broad spectrum of everything, and I do not like that. I like to come to work, know what I'm dealing with, and go from there. So I did not like, needless to say, I did not like the ED shadow rotation. I did like the fact that it was on night shift, so I did get an experience with night shift, which I loved, but I cannot do the emergency room. And quick tip, just because you're a nurse, don't let anyone tell you that, okay, just because you're a nurse, you're supposed to like all aspects of nursing. That is not true. I don't like labor and delivery, which I actually liked. Before I started school, I went to be a L&D nurse. I do not like labor and delivery, and I don't like dealing with wounds. Something about, seeing someone's bone through all of that tissue and stuff, I just can't. I could deal with it, but I don't like to deal with it. I think it's really sad. So I mean, and I don't like some parts of respiratory. I don't like it. But I mean, that's just a part of nursing. That's why they expose you to so much, so that you can kind of pick out and kind of comb through what you like and what you don't like. So again, don't let anybody tell you that you're supposed to like it all, because you are not going to. Okay, I have a little notebook, so if you see me looking down, that is why. So at the end of the rotation, after the ortho, the oncology, and the ED shadow, we were required to pick our top 3. So I picked to interview with oncology, ortho, and PCU, which is like a telemetry unit. I did get interviews with telemetry, and I also got an interview with ortho. I'm kind of glad that I didn't get an interview with oncology, and I'll get into that in a few minutes. So coming up to the draft interview date is what they call it. You basically have to dress up professionally, and you do not know who you're going to interview with until actually 30 minutes before your interview. Just because you put down your top 3, you weren't guaranteed an interview with that floor. So 30 minutes before, I found out that I had an interview with ortho and PCU. My first interview was with PCU. I liked the floor, but I didn't really mesh with the supervisor and the nurse that she brought with her to interview me. It just wasn't clicking for me. So I did the interview. The interview went well. So I moved on to my ortho interview, and instantly, I mean, even throughout my rotation, it felt like home. But once I did my interview, I knew instantly that this was going to be my first assigned unit. So the interview went well. And so after all the interviews were done, we found out, I believe it was we didn't find out till the end of the week. So they had to go through all the interviews and kind of, make sure that the managers matched up with the nurses that wanted to be on their unit. Make sure everybody was on the same page. So we got our letters that Friday, and I found out that I got hired on to the orthopedic unit. So I was extremely happy. And about the oncology unit, I really wanted to start on nights, which they were not offering. And then also the manager that was on the floor when I did my rotation, he was no longer there, and they did not have a manager. So that was another downfall. And also the chemo certification, they told us that we could get it after 6 months, but it actually turned out you can't get it until a year after. So I was kind of glad, because again, it really didn't meet my criteria that I was looking for. So I went with ortho, and I have to say it has been great. It is one of the best decisions that I have made thus far. So I want to just tell you a little bit about the nurse residency program that I enrolled in. When I first enrolled, I actually signed on with the hospital as a full-time employee. That was just a requirement. You were considered to be a full-time employee when you signed on and signed your contract. Now, the residency program was 12 weeks long. After you completed that, you were required to work for the hospital for 2 years. After 1 year of working your assignment, you can actually put in or apply to another unit if you would like to. Now, at the beginning of the residency program, we actually started getting paid as nurses. Now, and I mentioned in a previous video that, I was previously a federal employee. I was kind of waiting around to see if they would hire me on there. That never happened. I actually got hired on outside, in, an outside hospital. Well, I kind of took a pay cut, but I knew that I was going to get the best experience going with the outside hospital. Well, maybe like a month and a half after I signed on with the hospital, we actually merged with a major healthcare system within the state. And because of that, that brought on raises. So being a brand new nurse, not even assigned to my first unit, my whole residency class, we all got like $5 raises. So that put us way above the federal pay that was being offered at the federal hospital, which was just an added bonus. It wasn't expected. Of course, you don't want to be a nursing for the money, but the money helps. Okay, let's just be real about that. The money helps. So we all were very excited about that, being brand new nurses. Oh my God, we just got a $5 raise. Like, we were over the moon about that, okay? So that's been, really good for us. And also, I just wanted to give a few tips before I end this video. When you are choosing your units, when you're going through your rotations, make sure that there's teamwork on your unit. Because if you do not have teamwork, your job is going to be 10 times harder. Because I don't care how good of a nurse you are going to need help. You need to be able to ask your coworkers, and you also need to be able to approach your manager when you need help. Those things are key when you are looking for a unit to call home. Also, make sure there is a unity on your unit. Make sure you can get along with your coworkers. I mean, it's not a big plus, but it helps, because being a nurse, let me tell y'all, it is very stressful. I will get more into that in another video, but I'm telling you, it is stressful. It is stressful, and you need to be able to have that help, because you're just going to need it. Let's just be real. You're going to need help. I don't care how many years experience you have. Don't be so prideful to where you're afraid to ask for help. And also, make sure you're going to have that on your unit. Be sure that you can go to any one of your coworkers and say, look, I need some help. Can you please help me? And it be okay. Not that it be, create conflict or anything like that. Make sure that it is okay. And that is what I have found on my unit. I cannot be any more happier with my decision, because I mean, we get along so well. We get it done. Okay, for our patients, we get it done. That's pretty much everything that I have. Will I recommend a nurse residency program? The answer to that is yes. I would definitely recommend that, because you are going to get what you need to get you prepared for your floor assignment, your first floor assignment. You're going to have your classes. You're going to have skill labs. You're just going to have everything that you need to get prepared. So I thank you all so much again for taking the time out to watch my videos. Thank you guys for subscribing. And I ask that if you are not subscribed and you are watching this video, go ahead and subscribe. Hit the like button, share it with a friend. Come back, stay tuned for more videos to come.